On Saturday, the Egypt summit on the situation in Gaza ended without an agreement. In Mexico, several Latin American leaders will attend Sunday a summit on migration convened by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. In Kenya, Angolan President Joao Lorenzo is on a two-day state visit to strengthen bilateral ties between the two countries. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Rosabal from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, the Israeli siege continues. To date, more than 4,460 Palestinians have been killed in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. The Palestinian Health Ministry reported 4,385 people dead at the Gaza Strip and more than 14,000 injured since the beginning of the aggression on October 7th. Meanwhile, in the West Bank, Israeli forces killed 84 Palestinians and wounded more than 1,400. 70% of the dead are children, women, and elderly. The health ministry warned that these figures could multiply in the coming hours as the relentless Israeli attacks continue and as bodies are pulled from under the rubble of the destroyed homes. According to local media, during the ongoing bombardment of the Gaza Strip, the Israeli occupying forces completely destroyed more than 14,000 homes, while another 133,370 were partially damaged, including 10,127 which are no longer fit for living. The destruction of 5,500 residential buildings, including 14,200 apartments, was also reported. Among the affected infrastructure are also dozens of service facilities and 160 schools. Also, the number of mosques completely destroyed by the occupation amounted to more than 17. On early Saturday, at least 30 people, including 3 children, were killed in Israeli bombings, and local sources said that the bombing started in several areas in Rafah, south of the Gaza Strip. Also in Rafah, 6 members of the civil defense team were seriously wounded as a result of Israeli shelling on the civil defense headquarters. On Saturday, the Rafah boarding crossing opened so that humanitarian aid could be delivered to Israeli-occupied Palestinian enclave. Some 20 trucks carrying food and medical supplies, among other cargo, entered Gaza. The humanitarian aid will be handed over to representatives of the Egyptian Red Crescent for distribution to civilians affected by the Israeli bombardment. However, a CNN correspondent of the Egyptian side of the border said the Rafah crossing was closed shortly after the 20 vehicles passed through. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said his country did not close the crossing, but that Israeli shelling hindered the entry into Gaza. On Saturday, the Egypt summit on the situation in Gaza ended without an agreement. Members of the Arab League and the African League met in a peace summit to try to find a solution to the situation in the Gaza Strip. However, due to disagreements, the summit ended without a final joint declaration from the 34 countries and international organizations attending the meeting. Western delegations refused to demand a ceasefire and to hold Israel responsible for the deaths of civilians. They also rejected a call for the permanent opening of the Rafah crossing point. In India, despite a police ban on rallies in support of Palestine, hundreds of people gathered on Friday nights in different cities to express their solidarity with the people of Gaza who had been suffering from the relentless Israeli airstrike for more than 10 days. In Mumbai, Kerala, and Bangalore, the Indian people continue to demonstrate their support for Palestinians in one of the displays. In South Chennai, G. Ramasjinan, member of the political bureau of the CPI, condemned Israeli brutality against the Palestinians in the occupied territories. India's Muslim community, the second largest in the world, with over 200 million followers, dedicated its fasting and prayer day on Friday to solidarity with its brothers on the siege by the Zionist regime of Benjamin Netanyahu. In Mumbai, the day before, Muslim organization held a congregation of solidarity with Palestine, and later a crowd of followers of the Prophet Muhammad gathered in Isla Gingana, one of the most prominent avenues to demonstrate the repudiation of the Zionist actions. Australia holds a demonstration in support of the Palestinian resistance. The mobilization took place on Saturday and was attended by thousands of people who marched through the streets of Tinit from the city hall. The event was attended by both Australian sympathizers and Palestinian migrants residing in the country. During march, the protesters denounced the crimes committed by the Israeli occupation forces and demanded an immediate ceasefire.
It will remain our land. It's not the first colonization, and it's not going to be the last. Palestinians always emerge victorious, and we will get through this.
It's a genocide. There's a lot of kids being killed who are completely innocent, who need aid, who need food, who need water, who need shelter. That's what we're here today to show. We're showing our voice from Australia that we do stand with these people who deserve humanitarian rights.
Also in Spain, citizens took to the street this Saturday to demonstrate their rejection of the persistent Israeli attacks against the Gaza Strip and to ratify the support to the people of Palestine. These demonstrations of support are in addition to those registered in various countries around the world in support of the Palestinian cause. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English. We'll find news in different formats, new dates, some more. Other studies coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. Argentina continues on Saturday with a 40-hour electoral closing period before Sunday's general elections. From Friday until this Saturday, it is forbidden to carry out acts of proselytism, to publish and disseminate polls, and to open party premises located within the radius of 80 meters from the polling places. Nor may voters' meetings, shows, party sports activities, or the sale of alcoholic beverage be held. More than 35 million citizens are called to elect the president and vice president of that country, while Buenos Aires residents will also vote for the head of the government of the autonomous city and those of the provinces of Catamarca, Entre Rios, and Buenos Aires for their respective governors, and continues will also define who will occupy 130 seats in the Chamber of Deputies and 24 in the Senate, instances that are renewed in part every 2 years. On Saturday, more than 76,000 workers at the Argentine Post Office continued the distribution of 104,520 ballot boxes throughout the national territory for the general elections of Sunday, October 22. The presidential aspirants are Sergio Massa, Unión por la Patria, Javier Milei, La Libertad Avanza, Patricia Bullrich, Juntos por el Cambio, Juan Sciorretti, Hacemos por Nuestro País, a Miriam Bregman, Frente de Izquierda y Trabajadores Unidad. In order to win in the first round and occupy the Casa Rosada, a candidate must obtain more than 45% of the ballots or 40% with a reference of a list and points with respect to the second most voted. Failing which, it will be necessary to go to a runoff election, which is scheduled for November 19. In Ecuador, the National Electoral Council confirmed the date of the official presidential credential ceremony for Daniel Noboa and Veronica Abad. The CNE announced that the processing of the electoral records of the general election has been completed. The procedures for the commemorative act to be held next November 15 have been initiated. The institution communicated that the parliamentarians and executive cabinets will also be given credentials in the next weeks. Furthermore, they warned that the dates will be complied with as long as the political organizations do not file appeals in administrative or jurisdictional venues. Several leaders of the countries of origin of migrants arriving in Mexico have confirmed their participation in the Summit on Migration convened by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador to be held Sunday, October 22 in Palenque, Chiapas. The President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, and the President of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, the Prime Minister of Haiti, Ariel Henry, and the President of Ecuador, Guillermo Lasso, and Guatemala, Alejandro Yamatei, has so far confirmed the participation, informed President López Obrador on Wednesday in his daily press conference at the National Palace. Andrés Manuel López Obrador said that the migratory phenomenon is a problem that will worsen. He maintains that the migrants' countries of origin are going through difficulties and emphasized that in the case of Cuba, migration is related to the inhuman blockade imposed on the island by the United States. The government of Honduras is promoting a draft law on land entitling, regulation, and governance which aims to recognize and protect the rights of indigenous and Afro-Honduran peoples' territory. The National Agrarian Institute of Honduras announced that the proposed regulation will undergo a socialization process to decide whether or not to authorize the original inhabitants to exploit the natural resources in a sustainable and well-organized manner, respecting the culture and beliefs of the ancestral people. According to the Vice President of the Confederation of Indigenous People of Honduras, José Ramón Melgar, the draft law has already been discussed with other government entities such as the Forest Conservation Institute and more recently with representatives of 9 indigenous communities. The law is intended to have a gender focus with opportunity for indigenous women and youth to make proper use of the resources it projects. In Panama, social environmental groups reject the agreement between the state and transnational mining company denouncing legal violations and irreversible damage to the environment. Despite the rejection of the mining contract, the country's president, Laurentino Cortizo, approved this Friday a contract between the government and Panama Mining, which establishes a minimum yearly income of more than $170 million in state supervision of the mining operation. The signing published in the official state gazettes of the law led to the clashes between demonstrators and local authorities with injuries and the use of tear gas. A spokesman for the Alianza Pueblo Libre for la Vida said it will continue to fight until the mining contract is overturned. Peru's government admitted that the national economy is in recession to official figures in spite of repeated denials. The Minister of Economy and Finance, Alex Contreras, made a statement in a visit to the parliament in which he asked for the approval of a supplementary credit that will be used in the allocation of funds for the reactivation of the economy. The situation was made clear in a report by the National Institute of Statistics and Information Technology, according to which the economy suffered a 0.63% drop in August. Until a few days ago, Contreras had denied that the country was in recession, as economists of different tendencies had warned months ago, and stated that the economy will recover in the third and fourth quarter of this year. And we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel, teleSUR English, where you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, sub-stories, special broadcasts, and some more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's more recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Kenya, President William Ruto received his Angolan counterpart, João Lourenço, at the official presidential residence in Nairobi. The Angola president is on a 2-day state visit to strengthen bilateral ties between the two countries. After the meeting, the Kenyan president announced that both nations will push for the resumption of direct flights between Nairobi and Luanda. And in Kenya, Angola trade has been in a rise in the past 4 years. Besides flights, President Ruto announced the activation of visa-free regime to ease the free movement of people. The two leaders also had a joint media briefing where Kenya pledged to support Angola's candidature for membership in the African Union Peace and Security Council. Kenyan President William Ruto and his Angolan counterpart João Lourenço called on the M23 rebels to move to military quarters in order to move forward towards achieving peace in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
I have briefed Mr. President on what Kenya is doing alongside our East African community partners in stabilizing Eastern DRC. I have also congratulated President Lourenço for his not just participation but leadership in especially the mediation efforts between DRC and Rwanda. And we believe that it is an achievable aim to engage in consultation, stabilize eastern part of DRC, and allow the people of DRC in general to benefit from their progress, from their development, and from stability and progress in their region.
We have jointly made great progress, both in the Luanda and the Nairobi processes. Jointly, we have made good progress, but we have become stagnant on one item. We need to have the M23 cantonment carried out.
In China, a devastating explosion at an aluminum smelting factory in the city of Pinghu, southern province of Guangxi, claimed to take lives, authorities said Saturday. 4 people were injured and are receiving medical care after the explosion on Friday night. According to the official China Daily, rescue efforts were suspended on Saturday. Preliminary investigation results indicate the explosion was caused by the high-temperature liquid aluminum leak during the road smelting process. Industrial accidents are frequent in China despite strict order from the central government to improve safety in factory, power plants, and mines. However, the not always enforcement of safety standards remains a cause for concern. On Saturday, India successfully launched the first non-trial run of its incoming crew orbital mission in the latest milestone for its spacefaring ambitions. The Gaza mission's Skycraft in English is slated to send 3 astronauts into Earth orbit in 2025, an important yardstick of the Indian Space Research Organization technical capabilities. Saturday rocket tested the emergency escape system of its crew module, which separated from the thrust set amid a soft-sea landing about 10 minutes after the launch. The Indian Space Research Organization will conduct a series of 20 major tests, including carrying the Bravo to outer space before the final manned mission takes place. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced plans to send a man to the moon by 2040, following a year of triumph for India's space program. In Scotland and England, at least 3 people died and several families are trapped in flooded homes as the storm Babette moved east after pounding Ireland and headed for Scandinavia. The UK's Met Office issued a red severe weather warning for parts of eastern Scotland, with exceptional rainfall of up to 22 centimeters forecast for Friday and Saturday. Officials in southern Irish county of Cork described the deluge there as the worst in at least 30 years. A community hospital for the elderly had to be evacuated in Cork, where the main street was up to 4 feet underwater. As the storm hit Scotland on Friday, Scottish leader Hamza Yousaf warned that he could not stress how dangerous conditions were. Emergency services are battling to reach trapped residents but being hampered by strong currents and flooding up to 6 feet. Pope Francis intends to discuss topics considered taboo in the Catholic Church, such as the priesthood of married men, the marriage blessing for homophilic couples, and the right of women to have access to priesthood. To this end, he has convened the Synod of Bishops in Rome from October 4th to 29. For the first time, 54 women with the right to vote will be present. However, Although there are 70 lay people at the synod, 75% of those attendants are bishops and cardinals. Francis is the only absolute monarch in the West. If he wanted to decide only on controversial issues, Francis could do so. However, he prefers to consult with the rank and file and act in a collegial regime. Only 5 cardinals appointed by John Paul II, a Benedict VI's conservative pontiff, had already spoken out against the ordination of women and the blessing of same-sex unions. Many in the Church confuse cultural inheritance with divine revelation. And we have come to the end of this brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social medias, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Ana Rosabal. Thank you for watching.